Okay, it shows Andy's there, Sherry's there, Ben Clatter. Okay, looks like we got our server now all joined. That's on my laptop. Yeah. And I can see people. I see Commissioner Morris. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you give me a thumbs up, Penny, if you can hear me? Andy, can you hear me? That does not look like. See, it says. Can anybody out there hear me? Give me a thumbs up, please.
I can hear you.
Oh, I got a bunch of people. Okay. Let me get on. Yep, I'm back. Sorry, everyone. We had some technical difficulties there. Our server said it was disconnected. We are back on, I believe, and I think I can. Daryl, can you hear me? Okay, Daryl can hear me. Andy, turn around, Andy. Oh, apparently Andy can't hear me either. Penny? I can hear somebody. Can anybody hear me?
Paul here.
I can hear you.
I can.
McDonald here.
Yeah, I don't hear you.
Make sure you're muted. Just make sure you're muted.
Huh?
I unmuted everybody because we're having some technical difficulties from, well, it'll be WEBEX, Cisco company on that. So I unmuted everybody just to double check. I see Paul muted himself. Nedzwicki, Andrew, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay,
very good. I'm just trying to see. I don't see a whole lot of audio from anybody else. The audio I see, calling using 4, 3, Andrew. I'm trying to go down on the list here. Paul, yep. Looks like he had. I can see Miss Kramer's on now. She's muted. Judy, can you hear me? Oh, she was there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Rhonda just sent me a text, and she's having trouble getting on, and so is Alicia has no volume.
Right. She just sent me a text. I see Rhonda now. Hi, Rhonda. No, she's not going to recognize me. She has no audio. People should be up, and I see we're getting a full house. I see we have 19 people on.
Okay.
And I can still hear you, Judy. That's a good thing.
I wonder if I should leave my phone on.
That may not be a bad idea. Sherry, can you still hear me, Sherry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Pat McDonald?
Here.
Okay. Dave Baganowski? Okay, Dave? Okay, we have no audio with Dave. Paul? Mr. Biondo?
Are you able to do that on your phone?
I tried that. And Penny Morris can't get up on audio either.
Hey, Paul, are you out there, Mr. Biondo? I don't see him online now.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, sir. Let's see. Oh, we're getting people adding and coming back on.
Okay.
Mr. Azell, can you hear me? Steve? Hello, Steve. Can you hear me, Steve? Nope, apparently not.
Marv, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I can see you and hear you. Oh, I can see Mr. McDonald now.
I'm still at the beach.
Yep, he's still at the beach. Must be nice.
This is Alicia. I got through
Mr.
with the
Case,
phone.
can you hear me? That sounds like Mr. Case is not able to. Looks like I lost him.
Are you able to manually unmute Rhonda?
Where is she at? Yeah, it shows that she doesn't have a microphone. I unmuted everybody.
Can you hear me? This is Alicia. Can you hear me?
Okay, I got everybody unmuted. But I'm going down through the highlight list, and I'm seeing very few that have speakers activated. Paul does. Dave, can you hear me? Mr. Beganowski? Because everything, all the links work, but for some reason the internal 404 error server on Cisco WEBEX indicated it was down. Then right at 6 o'clock it came back on. Mr. Orth, can you hear me? Doesn't sound like Mr. Orth can hear. Andy Campbell, waiting to be admitted to the meeting.
So,
And
Marv,
there's-
I can talk and hear you over a phone-in. I can't on my laptop.
Okay, I'm seeing emails. Yeah, I'm not sure what the issue is. Using system. It shows everything at my end, at the administrator end, that audio is available. I'm going to put a chat out there. Chat.
Are you able to see like other people's pictures? Because I'm only seeing a couple people.
I can see Andy. I can see Steve Azell, yourself, Pat McDonald, Ms. Morrison, or Wanda. Morris, thank you. Steve Azell must have called in also on his computer, so I can see where he had it. So I see Daryl Case signed back in.
So Rhonda is trying to connect with her phone too, so she can hear and talk with her phone.
Okay. And I unmuted everybody.
Can you hear Alicia?
I think so. I think that was her.
Okay.
Alicia, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yep. Rudy's calling me.
No, WebEx has an issue, so.
I don't have another phone. All right, I'm going to mute myself.
No.
Okay, it looks like a lot of people hung up on WebEx and are doing call-in.
No problem. Like, I got a minute, I'll call and tell him I don't think anything's going to happen with that. Because the guy's going to wait till he...
I can sit there and hear Andy talking.
This is Rhonda. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Rhonda, I can hear you.
Okay, then I'm here to listen.
Okay, and are you via phone or on your computer?
On my phone.
Okay.
Hey, Marv.
Yeah.
I just got a email from Andy Campbell, and he needs you to let him into the room.
It's an open forum.
So does
let's
Rudy.
see. Oh, and it's saying there is no access.
Rudy says they have to have authorization as well.
It should not be that way. Let me change.
I'll have them call in like I did.
Hang on, let me try something here. I'm going to another.
This is like Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Yeah, yippee.
Or Monday the 11th.
Yeah, Monday the 13th type of thing. Record, start meeting. Join from browser. So I got, what did I got in here?
Campbell hanging out there.
Yeah, it's a software issue. Won't even let me on the other one there. We got 22 participants. That one says 29. Okay, let's see. I got everybody unmuted. Obviously, so I can hear feedback. All open. Mute on entry. Yeah, it says everybody in. Okay, let's see. Daryl?
Yep,
I don't see
I'm
you.
in on my audio on the phone.
I see 29 participants. Rudy?
Yeah.
Is Rudy there?
Oh, I think it's Judy.
Oh, I'm sorry, no. I'm going to put a chat out there.
No audio.
Okay, Steve, are you there? Zell? Steve Zell? Nope. Oh, somebody's opening and closing doors.
So Marv, I just
Yes,
went down to the bottom and tried to see what was going on with my audio.
Yeah.
It comes up, you can't connect to audio because we're having a problem connecting to the WEBEX meeting service. We'll let you know when you can connect to the audio again. So it's the WEBEX.
Yes, and that's what it's telling me. It was an internal WebEx Cisco error. And we can give it a few minutes, see what we got. At this point in time, the WebEx appears to be having some technical difficulties. I did place it in chat. I see Sherry's still with us and Paul's with us, and their audio seems to be working. Mr. McDonald, his video's there, but I don't see any audio connection with him.
I haven't tried. I figured this phone was safer.
Yep, and I can hear you. Sherry West, you still there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Paul?
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause I'm seeing a lot of flashing on my screen. People signing in, people signing out. Then a lot of them are call-in users. And all
Hey,
of a
Mark,
sudden,
can I make a recommendation that we give 5 minutes for everyone to call in and
Yes.
then start the meeting and see if we can do a roll call and see if we got a quorum and then go from there?
okay. We can sit there and,
You hear me, Marv?
yeah, Dave, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yep. And I can see Rhonda. We still good, Rhonda? Okay. Mr. Case is via phone, I presume. Penny Morris is on twice. Can you hear me, Penny?
But my screen is frozen.
Okay. I unmuted all. Looks like Andy McQuillan's on. Joanne Nedzowicki's on, a.k.a. Andrew, I presume. Yeah, 'cause I'm losing some of all the call-in numbers I've lost. Okay, they're back. So we're good there. Shows we have 29 participants. Somebody just signed in. Okay. Steve Azell. Mr. Azell, can you hear me? Nope. I can see Pat McDonald fading in and out of the beat. I don't blame him. Andy, Penny, Joanne, Daryl, and we got callers. 3, 4, 5, 6. Come on, there you go. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 callers on phone. 616. We're still trying to come in and call. Okay. I'm going to confirm now for our board. Judy, can you hear me? Thumbs up. Okay. Carrie.
Yes.
Still with me. Good. Thank you. Paul Biondo.
Yes.
Okay. Pat McDonald.
Here.
Dave Baganowski.
Here.
Okay. Judy, it appears that we have all our board members in Rhonda. You can confirm that. So I guess we'll call the meeting to order at 6:17 p.m. on January 11th, 2021. Judy, did you want to do an official roll call, please?
McDonald,
Here.
West,
Here.
Merritt,
Here.
Biondo,
Here.
Biganowski,
Here.
Kramer here, and Radke.
Present. Sounds like we have a quorum. Very good. The next item of business is the pledge. If we could all rise and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sincere apologies on setup, everyone. And with that being done, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Anybody have anything in particular of alterations to the agenda?
I want to add the Bradens.
Okay, we'll throw Braden's under new business, beyond, right past the item number. Anybody else? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the additions of Braden.
Merrick will make the motion to approve the agenda with the addition of Braden's at the end of new business.
Support.
Second, Biondo.
Okay, we have motion by Andy, supported by Biano, to approve the agenda with the addition of Braden's at the end of new business. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we have to do a roll call.
West,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Merrick,
Yes.
Ignowski,
Yes.
Yes.
Kramer, yes, and Radke.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, which contains minutes of 12/14/20, treasurer's report, and bills. Is there any board member that would like any item removed?
Do
Merrick would
those
like to remove
separate,
treasurer's
please.
report since the written one was not presented. And I'll give that under reports.
Will you
Okay.
say that again?
Treasurer's report was not submitted in the packet. He'd like to give it under verbal reports. Treasurer, Andy, Merrick. And did I hear somebody say something about bills?
Yeah, I want those separate.
Okay. We'll place the bills under, last time under new business.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes as presented.
Second,
We got a motion by Andy, supported by Judy, to approve the minutes as presented.
I'm sorry.
You can't. Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to ask, any member of the public would like anything removed? You could be via chat or unmute yourself and I see nothing. So the motion stands with Andy, supported by Judy, to approve the minutes as presented.
not through the consent?
That's the consent agenda. Everything else has been removed.
Okay.
Treasurer's report
Consent
will be,
agenda you're approving.
yes, ma'am. Judy, roll call, please.
Ignowski,
Yes.
Biondo,
Yes.
Merrick,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Kramer, yes, and Radke.
Yes, motion carries to approve the consent agenda with the minutes 12/14/20 being adopted as presented. We'll move on to public comment.
Before we go there, should we change our approval of the agenda if you're going to move those things down?
The consent agenda, no, that automatically trumps that. That's no discussion, and it's automatically placed elsewhere on the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you
Have
for the
reports. Have reports been moved, or are they still in their spot?
they're still in their spot. The two items that were removed from the consent agenda was treasurer's report, which will be verbally given by Mr. Merrick, the treasurer, under reports, and the bills will be discussed at the end of new business beyond Braden.
Okay, so reports is next. You said public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Reports. Andy, being that you're there, please run it.
All right, Treasurer's report for January 2021. From November 20th, when I took office, through January 10th, 2021, the Treasurer's office has processed 2,473 tax payments. We've collected approximately, in that time frame, $1,719,000 and a little bit extra. Reminder for everybody out there in the public that's watching, the taxes are due by February 15th, and the township is going to turn over any delinquent taxes to the county on March 1st of 2021. We recently received a state revenue sharing payment of $97,198. It's about $10,000 above what the latest estimate from the Department of Treasury was. The state's estimate for revenue sharing for the next fiscal year is about 0.2%. more than what it was this year. So we're basically staying about the same from the state revenue. So when we're looking at budgeting in the future, that's just something to know that we're probably going to be getting about the same amount of state revenue. Supervisor Radke and I looked over the budget, tried to get a snapshot of where the township is standing as it crossed the halfway mark in the fiscal year. Everything looks to be about where it should be. There are some revenue centers that are a little bit lower than originally budgeted, but we believe that's because of COVID. Things like rentals of the pavilion and the Golden Fellowship Hall have fallen a little bit short, the ball fields, et cetera. One area of concern that we did have was repairs on fire equipment. We seem to be about the end of the budget for the budget year. We still have about 6 months left. It's just something we've got to keep an eye on. It could be everything got taken care of already. We're not going to have any more repairs going on going forward. That's our fingers are crossed on that. But just to let you know, that's where we're at in one line item in a budget center. Another area that's kind of caught our attention was there was a pretty good increase in professional service or professional expenses in the EMS and fire budget. Marv and I were looking at that, and it looks like most of that is from expenses that we pre-covered for the new fire hall, and believe that there's certain things that we can do to get the general fund reimbursed by the bond, which should be part of the discussion later on in the agenda. Things are going pretty smooth as I get more accustomed to the day-to-day operations of the treasurer's office and the duties here inside the township office. There's a list of tasks I need to be taken care of here over the next couple of months to get with Trent and his office, whereas BS&A, to help streamline some of the operations and try to eliminate some of the duplicate stuff that's being done and make it a better experience for the residents and the public here. My office is open from 9 a.m. till 5:30, Monday through Thursday. If any of you have any specific questions or want to just stop in and say hi, feel free. If you want to spend some time with me, I do recommend you call ahead. We are doing appointments here at the office, so I want to make sure that I'm available for you so I can give you the guys the dedicated time that you need to sit down and discuss any issues that you may have. That's all I've got today for the Treasurer's Report. Mr. Supervisor, back to you.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. And the next item we're going to have.
Wait a minute, don't leave. I'm
Any questions,
wondering if Andy's going to send us a copy of that. I like the idea that he did it. That's what I've looked for. But I'd like it in writing, too.
You get that, Mr. Merrick? She'd like a copy.
I'll email the text out that I read in the either tomorrow or I'll get it out tomorrow.
That's great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions for Treasurer? Hearing none, we're going to move on. I got Deputy Nofke with me. I'd like to get him out in case he gets called out. Deputy?
Good evening, everyone. I'll go over the end of the year numbers for 2020. Here in Green Lake Township, we handled 82 traffic crashes, issued 40 citations, had 42 criminal complaints. Follow up on some recent larcenies out here, still monitoring different things that we monitor, scrap yards, pawn shops, for some items that have recently been taken. That's pretty much all I have for right now. Does anybody have any questions?
Hearing none, thank you, Deputy Nofke. Appreciate participation. Next, I know we have a written report in from the Fire and EMS Department. However, I'm going to make a request of Chief Case. Is there anything in particular you'd like to add or highlight?
Can you hear me?
Chief Case, yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So Doug and Mike both put together the EMS and fire, and we tried to do you a little bit of change in what we reported just to see comments from the board members if that was looking about. We're just trying to change it up a little bit and make sure the board is getting what they're liking to look at as far as numbers for responses of what we're doing, so you can see trending over time, things of that such. Other than that, we've had a busy end of the year and the beginning of the new year. We had a structure fire over the actually Friday night, and the duty crew had a great stop on it. Saved a lot, really saved the structure. It was good reporting from the homeowner, and it was a great knockdown. So kudos to the crew. We spent, I think all in all, just under 5 hours on that fire between knockdown, cleanup, and whatnot. So other than that, just looking for feedback, or if board members want to email me back if we're not covering what you're looking for. And then hope to do more of a narrative of department status here in the next couple months, and have you guys look at that as far as monthly flow for the department. And so there'll be more to come on that also.
Okay, very good. I see Andy had his hand raised. I believe he has a question for the chief.
I do have two questions. Chief, you said the duty crew. Who were the first people on the scene that knocked that fire down? Sounded like they did an amazing job.
Yeah, so Derek Brown was the firefighter medic, and Jeff was the firefighter EMT. And then I don't remember a total number, but half or three-quarters of the department ended up responding on that fire, as well as Long Lake Township, Blair, Buckley, and Inland. Those four departments also sent us tankers or staff also.
It sounded like it was just an amazing job, and the box alarms and our partners worked out great, and everything went like it was supposed to. So I want to say I'm appreciative of the work of the crews that have responded, and it sounded like the guys who got there first just really did a bang-up job. So I thought it was good to bring out their name and bring mention to them. We've been waiting on a update on what's going on with a grant for the engine. Is there anything you've got on that you've heard or seen?
Yeah, so I've done some research on that, and I logged onto the federal system for where in this last grant cycle so far we've received the AirPack grant, in which we're working on getting proposals for those. But looking in that system, I was unable to find any grant paperwork in this last cycle for an engine, and so I contacted the grant writer that assisted in getting the AirPack grant, and there was no engine grant applied for this grant cycle. So the current one, I was hoping to have to the board a request for this meeting, but didn't have the timeline to do it. So we have enough time before the February submittal deadline to apply for that engine, and that's my plan, is to just bring the board up to date at the next board meeting, and then I'll apply later that week for the deadline to apply for the engine. But at this point in time, there's no outstanding grant with a grant application for an engine.
So have you looked at a different specs than what we had, or are we going to go with the same engine that was spec'd out before?
I have not seen any of the previous specs. I do have a set from Blair and from Long Lake. Both those, I'm quite familiar with Blair's engine. I've worked on the engine and pumped it. And also with Long Lake will have possession of their new engine, I think, within the month, if not in February. And so their chief has shared their set of plans also. I'm not as familiar with that manufacturing company, though I am the chassis. Just not their company, but he recommends them highly, and they're also the same. They manufactured their tanker also, so they've got some track history with that company.
All right, so you're still working the details on what engine you're going to be requesting a grant for moving forward, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, more so working on the financials and the letter of need. The letter of need is probably the biggest thing for us to establish, and I don't want to say that money doesn't matter, but the reason for requests is much greater than the overall dollar amount. As long as it ranks high, those first funds are drawn at needs assessment based on their criteria. So, I don't want to say money's not an issue, but money, whether it's $600,000, $400,000, or $700,000, it's not that big of an impact to the grant application.
All right, great, thank you.
Yep.
Well, my understanding of Chief Case is we did apply for air packs as a priority. Well, I shouldn't say priority, but we applied for air packs, but not the engine, correct?
Right, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Does anybody else, any other board member have questions of Chief Case? Judy?
I just want basically, Mr. Cutway stood at our board meetings and basically told us he had been checking up on the grant, which in fact was not honest with our board. That's a problem. And it wasn't just once.
Correct. Any other questions of Chief Case? Hearing none, thank you, Chief Case. And we'll move on to Penny, our new representative at the County Commission level that replaced Commissioner Wheelock. Penny, can you hear us?
Yes, hi. Okay. So we actually had a very nice, short and sweet meeting, my first time out. That was good. And the only thing that we did was appointed Mr. Rod Kivel to the Parks Board, and we approved the purchase of 9 Dodge Chargers for the police to the tune of $28,669 per vehicle, for the total of $258,021. So they were to replace vehicles that are ending their life cycle, and to replace 3 that have been damaged, totaled. So, any questions on that?
No, ma'am. It doesn't sound that way.
All right, then. I'm probably going to exit because the WebEx has got my computer frozen tonight. So if you don't have any other questions for me.
Okay, any board member have any questions? Nope. Hearing none, thank you,
right.
Penny. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Okay, I believe that is all of our reports. Commissioner Klaus passed the report to Ms. Morris, so he won't be on. So I believe that's all of our verbal reports. Anybody else have anything to report? Any other department? Okay. Hearing none. Now we can move on to the next item on our agenda, which is public comment. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak? Please, hopefully in an orderly fashion, unmute yourself and introduce yourself. And a reminder that we need your name, address, and not to exceed 3 minutes in public comment. Okay, is anybody would like to speak under public comment? I'm going to give them a little extra time just because of the difficulties that we're having here. Any member of the public who would like to speak? I'm looking to see if anybody's raised their hand. Call-in users, we have 35 participants right now. Do not see any public comment. Rudy, are you out there, sir? Hello, Rudy, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
Did you have something to say, sir?
Yes, sir. I would like to make a comment about the junk and ordinance laws, and I would also like to give kudos to Alicia for her following up with the issue that we have with the junk ordinances. And I also would like to say that I would hope that the board members would back you up and and just make her strong in what she's doing. I'm a little disturbed with some of the board members and them not wanting to being so strong on our ordinances.
Okay. Thank you, Rudy. Is there anything else?
No, sir. I'm just happy with the job that she's doing, and I'm glad that she's there.
Very good, sir. Noted. Any other member of the public would like to speak? Please say so and give your name, your address of the resident, and limit it to your 3 minutes. Rudy, we'll have to ask you for your name and address, please, if you're still on.
Okay, Rudy Oziana, 4202 Shady Grove, Interlaken.
Thank you, sir. Any other member of the
Oh, whatever you're doing is coming through.
Any other member of the public? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to unfinished business. Update of the Eurasian water milfoil follow-up. A draft letter was created by Mary Jo and was reviewed for content. That information, the content was confirmed with our assessor and is being sent out tomorrow. So we'll have some updates for next month's regular meeting. Any questions in that regards there? I think we have something like, well, how many was there? 290 or people that are affected on Cedar Hedge Lake we sent out. The next item is the office hours follow-up.
Back up. Was the letter just sent to Cedar Hedge people? It wasn't sent to Duck Lake?
Correct. Duck Lake has, and their associations have expressed that the township continue with the treatment working. The next item is the office hours follow-up. We are still yet to hear a final determination. The restrictions for our meetings expires this Friday. However, we still have a few days left for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to make their comments and for the governor to press determinations made by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. I'm aware that Whitewater did not get in trouble financially for their meetings. It was recognized it was illegal. However, no fines or penalties were incurred at this time. The sheriff's indicated and the state's indicated that they're going to enforce and investigate from here on out. But at this point in time, the fiction deadline for us is January 15th. We'll see what the state departments have to say. Other than that, that's all I have in that regards. Other than, everybody seems to be amenable to the operations that we have. We are accommodating. We come in 6-7 days a week. We answer our phone calls, and we do schedule appointments that are, well, the residents, taxpayers, and feel comfortable with. Not heard of any resident that I've been. I'm not sure if Andy has anything to add to that, or Judy. I believe everybody's been pretty amenable and pretty understanding. Andy, am I saying something out of school?
There were some people who had some misunderstandings of what was going on once they called in and made an appointment, which could be immediately. Everything seemed to be fine. There was just some confusion as to how things were being handled, but they were able to call in. We were able to answer their calls relatively quickly since the voicemail was right to our emails. We're out of our office for whatever reason, like going to the bank and stuff. So it's worked out pretty well. Overall, the residents seem pretty happy or understanding of what we're doing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say happy, but they're understanding. So that's a positive sign. Judy, have you had any experience otherwise?
Actually, everything's gone fine. You, Andy, and I have been here 4 days, 5 days, 6 days a week. So answering the phone and calling people back, and have a mobile notary service the last couple of weeks. They've been calling in. I've been going any issues or any problems.
Very good. Okay. With that, any other questions in the unfinished business program? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. And this request was made at our last meeting, and it was given to the individual that we would put it under new business. And I believe he understands that we do not allow recreation marijuana. We have an ordinance. He did not opt in. However, he still wanted to do a presentation. Andrew Nidzelski, please forgive my slaughtering of your last name. He would like to put up a short presentation on recreational marijuana, also known as an adult use marijuana. Andrew, are you there, sir?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Okay, so Andrew Nijvetsky at 1900 Pine Tree, and I'm here with my business partner, Shannon.
Hi. Shannon Stewart, also at 1900 Pine Tree.
Yep, and we understand that Green Lake has opted out of recreational marijuana, and so we did give you guys a copy, sort of a condensed version of our business plan that we're working on. That's more so to give you an idea of what we have in mind for a recreational business in the township. We're not asking for a vote or anything on that business in particular. More so, we believe very strongly that having recreational marijuana in the township can be an absolute benefit for it. And so at this time, what we're looking to do is recommend some kind of a drafting of an ordinance, both police powers and zoning, something to allow that. Because we have traveled around, we've seen the benefits of this, and we've been very impressed at what it can do. And being as just what the state of things are, where this new industry is here, it's expanding, and then eventually it's going to be everywhere. And so with that understanding, especially even at the federal level, it's in the process of decriminalization. And understanding that, it's just the sooner that our township does adopt it and move forward with that, the better position we're going to be to benefit from it. And so along the lines of what we've been looking at doing, in terms of pursuing it in the proper channels, of like, let's draft an ordinance, let's get something we like, and let's consider it in that way. We have done a bit of research on that, and that's something I'll have Shannon talk about a little bit.
So essentially what I did was I looked at 88 different municipalities within the state of Michigan that did approve recreational. I tried to narrow it down to make it more Green Lake Township friendly. So I picked, neighboring counties and counties that have similar populations, and as well as being more rural than city. We did find 14 that were in the neighboring counties that allow rec, and we had we found 2 that were very clear, very close to the state regulations, obviously did a few changes for their township and what their township would need. But they laid out the police powers ordinance very clearly and the zoning ordinance very clearly, and kept in close with their original ordinances. We also found an application from Kalamazoo that is really detailed as the state. It almost mirrors it exactly, and it would allow you to vet people very, very clearly before you would approve any licenses.
Right. So the essence of what we're doing is we believe that that recreational marijuana is going to be everywhere, and that it can be such a benefit here, and it's something we think the township should look at, should consider, and should, through the proper ways, put in an ordinance to allow here. As soon as it's feasible, really. And so with that, with the information pack we had, I was wondering if anyone had any questions about recreational marijuana in general or our specific business plan. We tried to include as much of that, but not try to be too overwhelming with stuff. So hopefully it wasn't. Hopefully you guys had a chance to look through it. So I just wanted to see if anyone had any questions.
Okay. Well, thank you, Andrew and Shannon. I appreciate the information. It's very well representative of what Andy McQuinlan has presented to this board on occasion, along with Mr. Steve Azell. who also operates a medical facility within Green Lake Township. Patients have pointed out the 10% excise tax, 15% township. You did a good job of itemizing the breakdown, giving an indication on the value of dollars, which is in everyone's mind. It's hard to tell with retail. Steve Azell has also made that comment in presentation, and it has indicated that consider it, as indicated last month by Trustee Baganowski. The interim ordinance is that we have in that regards there, looking for something to help it up. I believe there was some contact done by Alicia and some follow-up information when Alicia and myself, and I believe Mr. Azell has also provided somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 different verbiage package Dave Baganowski as well. And it was stated at last month's meeting, it was in our minutes, that we would not take any action on marijuana ordinances until we meet. Anticipated that we'd be meeting in person by February if everything goes well, and have time that serves to be done with. So, any other questions of Andrew and or Shannon from the board members? Please identify yourself and proceed. Okay. Hearing none.
Hello, I'm waving my hand as hard as I freaking can.
Use your words. Oh, you're not on video.
I'm not.
No.
Yeah. Holy crap, I see myself. Anyway, Andy, you sent me a couple of sample ordinances. Did you send those to all the board members?
No, we haven't had a chance to do that yet.
Okay, well, I'm not saying you should, but I haven't had a chance to review them. I wondered who else got them.
Okay.
That's all, Marv. I can see myself. You can't see me?
No. Looks like you're calling in number 7.
What?
That's what's
popping up. Is he the gray box or the burgundy box?
No, burgundy.
Paul's gray, Sherry's burgundy.
Yeah. Dave's not in the.
Yeah, so sorry, Dave.
All right.
At this end, we don't see, all I see is Steve Azell, Judy, the background of Pat, background of Paul, background of Sherry, and Rhonda was shaking her head. She's not shaking her head. That's all I see. That's all the visuals. I don't see myself even. Yeah.
I would like you to collect any of those documents that have been sent to any of the board members so that we can all get a chance to look at them. That way we've got kind of an idea of what's going on around the state. It sounds like some folks have some residents have put in some time looking that stuff up, and I think as a board it would be right for us to look at what others are doing so we can see and maybe get some ideas and glean some stuff from the other information. So if you could get that information and get it to the rest of us, that would be great, sir.
I will do my best in that regards. I want to clarify, I do see Chief Case now. I will do my best in gathering the documents. Andrew, Steve, Azell, if you can hear, Shannon, if you can hear, if you can email the information to supervisor@greenlaketownship.org.
Okay.
I would appreciate that, and I would send that out to the board members.
Okay, that sounds good. So my understanding that just the way we're talking, you're not looking to approve it outright, just do the proper channels of drafting an ordinance, both police powers and zoning, and now you're looking to do that in February. Did I understand you right? You were kind of going in and out of my computer.
Oh, yes, that was the intent, that the board took action, that we would do a study shop, workshop session on verbiage. We're still not to the level if we are going to proceed with allowing recreational. We haven't got there. It sounds like, yes, it's a good possibility because we want to do a workshop on the verbiage. We can't take action on, Mr. Azell has had a request in for a year now. Then the COVID issue hit and the situation, et cetera. I'm not going to belabor that. Everybody's aware of that. So that is our intent, is to sit down, discuss it, draft verbiage according to our discussion, both for zoning and police call.
Okay.
As soon as possible.
Yeah. Okay. And we'll get that ordinance research that we did to you as soon as possible. Probably today or tomorrow we'll get that to you.
Real good. I greatly appreciate that.
Okay.
So with that, I greatly appreciate your time and energy. Any other board members have any questions? Please speak, because I can't see, but Judy and Andy as board members. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item under new business, which is poverty exemption number 011120221.1. I believe I've seen Mr. Newhall on our line. He's the township assessor, and we're required to do some action on this annually. Mr. Newhall, do you have anything more to add to what was included in the packet?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Mr. Newhall.
Essentially, no. The resolution is identical to last year's.
Very good. Any board member have any questions of Mr. Newhall? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt the poverty exemption resolution number 011120221.1.
Move to approve.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion. We adopt resolution that you just read off the number with one minor change. In the first sentence, the word board is missing a B. So if we could add a B to that word and then adopt the resolution as presented with that exception.
Terry already made the motion to adopt the resolution, and you were second. Oh, would you second that?
Wait a minute. Andy, where the B is missing, look the rest of the way down because it all lines up. Could something be missing on every single one of those?
So it must have been through the email.
I'm only missing a B on board, so maybe it's just a typo or a way that formatting happened.
Yep, it's okay.
As long as it's spelled correctly, I'd second that.
Okay, Sherry, are you good with that?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, so Sherry made a motion, supported by Andy, to adopt the poverty exemption resolution number 011120221.1. Any discussion? Hearing none, Judy, could you give us a roll call, please?
McDonald.
Yes.
Best.
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Biondo.
Yes.
Biganowski.
Yes.
Kramer, yes, and Radke.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. The resolution for poverty exemption has passed.
Can I say something I just spotted thanks to Andy?
Yes.
If you look at our township board, we still got Susie down as treasurer on the agenda.
Oh,
Yep.
We'll make that noted correction. It should be treasurer.
Yep.
Okay. The next item on our resolution is the pond resolution number 011120221.2. That is a resolution for the bond activity for the new fire station. I see Mr. Sweats was on. I'm not sure if he's on still, but I'm going to give a brief overview. The resolution is basically boilerplate type of resolution. There's some areas within the resolution that has different names. Judy and I have gone through and we've changed the name to Green Lake Township. And over the weekend, I believe Roger did some more thinking on this and anticipating the market conditions that we have. Conversing with Mr. Andy Campbell, who was of the bond as well. Some of the steel is up to 10 months out. So the added verbiage that was emailed out today is a tool that be inserted into the resolution to afford us to be reimbursed for costs incurred now, and it leaves the door open for us to recover that cost from the sale of the bonds. This bond or this resolution does not bind the township in any way other than, I'm going to use the terms Roger Sweat's used. This holds the door open and allows Green Lake Township to pre-order large expenses like steel construction. 10 months out, we don't get the bond sold and get all this said and done by May. It'd be 10 months before we get any building material. So that put us into the following year, and our goal is still to have it built by the latter part of November to middle of December of this year. So that's what this resolution entails. Oh, I see Roger. Mr. Sweats.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, you can hear. So did my explanation resemble something of what you told me?
Yes. Yeah. I think that just the only thing that I would add is that this resolution does provide the main action by the board to authorize the issuance of the bonds. So once this resolution is adopted, the officers of the township will have the authority needed to go forth and complete the bond issue, which will be done through a public sale where there are bids taken for the purchase of the bonds in the bond market. And then by state law, the bonds would have to be awarded to the lowest responding bidder in the method that the state dictates for the issuance of bonds. What the township is not committing itself to is the purchase of the steel. We're just holding the door open in case that makes sense. We just have some kind of beefed up reimbursement language just to make it clear that should there be any necessary purchases before the bonds are issued, that can be reimbursed from bond proceeds. But that decision is fully within the decision of the township that would need further approval. At this point, we're just holding it open as part of the bond issue.
Thank you. So does anybody understand that last part was sent out today? It's relatively short and easy to read. Much to my surprise, thank you, Roger. It wasn't another 24-page document. Is there any questions in regards to this resolution of the bond?
I have one.
Terry, please do.
Two, actually. In Article 10 that they have in the resolution, in there it says that signing the bonds, the supervisor, the clerk, and the deputy clerk can do it. Everywhere else in the language, it was the supervisor, the clerk, and the treasurer. I want to know why this is different here.
Sure. Generally speaking, in Michigan, bonds are signed by the supervisor and the clerk, and we can allow the deputy clerk to sign in the clerk's place should the clerk be unavailable. So that just has to do with signing of the bonds. As far as all the other legal actions and other ancillary documents to the bond issue, we're naming the supervisor, clerk, and treasurer as officers of the township to carry out those functions. So that's a broader grant of authority than just signing the bonds. The signing would generally be limited to the supervisor and the clerk or the deputy clerk in the absence of the clerk.
Okay, and when I get way down to the bottom to the resolution, let me get to it. Okay, in the resolutions, it's like page 12 of 23 is the first one. What's all the numbers that belong in there? That one has two the date, but that needs sums put in there, and then the next one has a whole bunch of sums and information. Don't
Sure.
we have to put all that information in order to pass this resolution tonight?
No. What you have as the two exhibits to the bond resolution are what the bond form itself is going to look like, and then what the notice of sale for the bonds are going to look like. And so the board is approving those as to form, but we're not at the point and won't be at the point to fill those things in until after the sale. So you're not approving those documents in their final form. You're just approving them as to their general form. And so that's why they're attached with the blanks in them. Once the bonds are sold, we will create a bond form that uses this language that fills in all the blanks. But I will do that after the bonds are sold, and that does not need to be in the resolution tonight.
Not the information that we're not going to sign it doesn't need to be in the resolution.
The information in the form of the bond, which starts on those pages that you recite, that's just being approved as to form. That's not being approved with that specific information. So no, those blanks do not need to be filled in tonight.
Because we don't know the final number yet in regards to what we're going to make a request on the bond. It was up to $3.2 million, and as everybody's indicated, along with myself, is if we don't have to spend 3.2 to get what we need and what's going to be covered over the next 25 to 50 years, we'll see what we can come up with. I believe Chief Case, Andy, Judy, and myself, we're going to participate in a remote call this Friday with our engineers, and we'll have a status update and a numbers up in that regards that we'll be able to bring forward. And those are the numbers that ultimately the board will approve to put into the bonds.
Okay.
That Roger would insert with, all the dots and E's that are required to go.
Right. And this resolution is what we call a parameters resolution. So it sets limits on what the authorized officers can do, but the exact terms will be determined by the bidding process, and then state law requires that we incorporate those exact terms of the lowest bidder once the bids are received. And so that will be farther down the road.
Okay.
Okay. Did you have another question, Sherry, or did you get both?
Nope, that took care of them.
Thank you. Any other questions of the board members?
I have just a concern.
Pat?
Yeah, along the lines of those things that are authorized by either the supervisor or the treasurer or the clerk. I mean, I'm sure some of those decisions will be, or signatures might be housekeeping matters, but they look to me like there might be other ones that could have some pretty substantial financial ramifications. And I just would hope that when those decisions are made, that they're considered very carefully to save the township as much money as possible. Anyways, that's just a comment.
Okay, well, thank you for the comment, and I concur with your comment, Pat. Your tax dollars, my tax dollars, and everybody else's, that we want to make sure and ensure that we don't fill the firehouse with water.
And Marv, I could just add maybe just a little bit more commentary to give the board some comfort. By law, the township is going to have to accept the lowest responsive bid for the bond issue. The law does not give us any discretion on that. So, there are certificates and ancillary documents that need to be signed as closing documents. The authorized officers are authorized to sign those and make those kind of decisions. Decisions like, what day and time to sell the bonds on, and a few issues like that. But the really big issues will be settled by a public bidding process. And as I assume most of you would hope, but whether you agree with it or not, by law, they would have to be sold to the purchaser that provides the township with the bid that gives the lowest true interest cost. And so the state dictates that pretty clearly. And so it's one of the reasons we do this in a parameter format. You could come in for a special board meeting on the day that we sell the bonds, but that decision at that time is pretty much pro forma, given the fact that the state law requires the sale to the lowest true interest cost.
Thank you. And it's very similar to what we sold bonds for, like the Bush Road Sewer Authority. Going through the resolutions and that type of stuff, had to add the numbers in once it got all settled in. And the closing documents that we had with, was it Huntington Bank, I believe, at that time?
Right. Yeah. This resolution, in some sense, is very similar to the Bush Road resolution. It also delegated the powers to the authorized officers. The difference between this bond issue and Bush Road is because Bush Road was a smaller bond issue. The bids taken in Bush Road were bank bids, and because it wasn't a full public sale, which, given the smaller size of that bond issue, the financial advisor determined didn't make the most sense. There was actually more discretion given to the authorized officers there because they were choosing a bank. Not that the officers would have chosen a bank other than the lowest responsive bid, which they did. In this case, since it's a larger issue of bonds, the financial advisor believes that a full public sale will provide you with the best cost results. And because of that, in this case, the law is even more stringent in dictating that you go with the lowest responsive bid. So this is pretty tightly governed by state law.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions of this resolution or of Roger?
Marv, could I just ask you one quick question since I wasn't able to hop on at the very beginning of the meeting? Did the board?
You didn't miss much.
Thank you. Did the board members state where they're physically located tonight as part of the opening of the meeting?
No, they did not state their physical location. Can we do that now and be all right?
Yeah. I would just ask that each board member just say what municipality you're located in. Presumably you're all in the township, but the new amendment to the Open Meetings Act just requires that statement be made once during the meeting. So if you would, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Judy, I'm going to ask questions if you can keep the record or keep notes between you and Rhonda. Andy Merrick, where is your exact location?
I'm at 9394 10th Street in the Treasurer's office.
Thank you. Judy, where are you physically located at during this meeting?
9394 10th Street, clerk office.
Thank you. Miss Sherry West, where is your location?
3725 Betsy River Road.
Thank you, ma'am. That's in Green Lake as well. Paul Biondo. Lou Paul. We'll give him a minute to figure out how to unmute. Dave Beganowski, your location.
I'm in Green Lake Township.
Okay. Pat McDonald.
I'm in Green Lake Township.
Okay, we're going to try Paul Biondo one more time. Where is your location? Okay, technical difficulties at that end. However, okay, Marv Radke, supervisor, I am at 9394 10th Street, Interlochen, in the supervisor's office. We have 6 out of 7 reporting exact locations. Is that amenable enough to you, Mr. Sweats?
Yeah, if when Paul chimes back in, if you could pick him up, that'd be great, but you can proceed.
Thank you.
Marv, it looks like Paul's gone.
Yeah. I'm waiting to see him knock. What's that?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. With that being done, do we have a motion in regards to bond resolution number 01112021.2? I would entertain a motion to adopt said resolution.
I'll make
a motion to adopt the resolution. Do we need to include the amendment at the end, or is that part of the resolution?
I'm sorry, Andy. Judy made the motion to adopt the resolution with the addition of today's email. Was it, Judy?
Yeah.
Andy, you supporting that?
Yes, sir. Support.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt resolution as presented in today's packet. Adopt resolution bond number 01112021.2, supported by Andy Merrick. Any discussion on said motion to adopting the resolution? Andy.
That does include the additional email that we received for the keep the door open for the steel and everything, correct?
Correct. That's what Judy indicated.
I wanted to make sure I heard that right with the way this call is going tonight.
I agree. I concur with that. With that being said, I would like a roll call vote, please.
Kramer, yes. Biganowski.
Yes.
Biondo. West.
Yes.
Merrick.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
And Radke.
Yes. Motion carries 6 yes, 0 no, 1 absent. That deems the motion to adopt resolution approved. Thank you. Is there anything else you need from us, Mr. Sweats?
Can I ask Roger something?
Sure.
Yes, Judy.
So Roger, the locations just need to be part of the minutes. They don't need to be typed into what I need to fill in for that resolution. Is that correct?
Correct. Locations just noted in the minutes.
Okay.
And then
Thank you.
I also did want to mention, Marv, in case you didn't know, but Andy Campbell is on the call as well. I don't know if I think Andy thought maybe you were looking for some explanation on the financial side of it from him. So if you did have any questions, I think Andy is on the line.
Oh, okay. I didn't have any questions. The information that he supplied earlier, he was very thorough and very good with. I was very pleased with that information, and it did not raise any red flags, and it was within the scope of our millage that was voted upon. And kudos to yourself and Andy and the rest of the teams. I know just more than you two doing this. It's coming all clear cut. And I have no questions of Andy. Any board member have any questions for Andy?
Nope, but I have a comment.
Okay, Pat?
Just in the minutes for the next, for this meeting, you probably should indicate Green Lake Township, Michigan, because I think there's one in Wisconsin too.
There is. And there's another Green Township in Michigan too, so we want to make sure it's Green Lake Township, Grand Traverse County, state of Michigan. We've had some confusion with Green Lake, haven't we, Judy?
Yes, we have.
So we'll detail that out. Duly noted, and thank you, Mr. McDonald. Okay, any other questions? Andy, would you want to say something just because?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, cool. Well, I'll just do a quick introduction. My name is Andy Campbell with Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors. You'll be seeing more and more from us as we go along in the sale process here, but we'll work with the board and specifically Marv and Judy and the team and Andy, the treasurer, with Roger doing all the legal stuff. We'll be doing our process over the next few months to get the bond sold and get you all the best interest rate.
Hope so. Thank you. I'd expect nothing less. Thank you. Any other questions?
Right. Andy? A quick question for Andy.
Yep. Pat?
I guess with the currently extremely low interest rates, would that lean towards borrowing all the money that we're going to need up front to avoid a possible increase?
So
later
right
on?
Now, we are, let me get the schedule out here. We're proposing to sell the bonds later on. So it's going to be in March right now. We're proposing to sell in March and close in April as the current schedule. There's a lot to do basically between now and then for Roger and myself in terms of the documents that need to be done in order to get to the sale process. So that's pretty much the quickest we can go from here, but we'll be in contact. I mean, in terms of the amount, we'll be hammering that down with you all here over the next couple months, preferably over the next month if we can. I know that Marvy said there's a meeting on Friday to discuss the amount. We would prefer that you don't, you're going to be allowed based on the vote and the resolution to borrow up to $3.2 million. We'll want to make sure that we don't borrow 3.2 if you don't need that. If it's only going to be $3 million, we don't need to borrow the extra money. But I would say that you definitely want to make sure that you have a contingency in case you have a change order or something that's out of your control. But interest rates are very low right now. We are hoping that over the next couple months that doesn't change, but the short answer is basically don't borrow more than you need, but you want to make sure that you have contingency and stuff just in case.
Yes, and I believe Ben Clatter, our township engineer and our lead contact, is very well aware of that. I believe Chief Case and I, along with Judy and Andy, have reiterated that if we can get away with borrowing $2.5 million, we'll borrow $2.5 million, knowing that we need protection in their contingencies for the change orders if necessary. But yeah, our ultimate goal is not to exceed 20 and to do as minimal amount of our getting a loan borrowing properly. Yes, we'll have dive down on the numbers, get more details along with. So, anything else? Any other board member question? Well, thank you, Andy. Thank you, Roger. Greatly appreciate your guidance on that matter, and also with Ben of Vandenbrink. With that being said, no other comments or discussions with that. I believe our discussion of the bond resolution for the new fire station has concluded. Mr. Biondo, one more opportunity, one more request. Are you out there, Mr. Biondo? Okay, if he does come on, Roger, we'll take your advice and ask for name and location.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
So with that being done, the next issue on our agenda is a drone grant. Chief Case has submitted a written report regarding the grant. I'm going to say right off the get-go, I was sort of shocked when I seen the award of the grant from the state of Michigan. And I don't believe anybody on the board was aware that we applied for said grant, obligated township $2,500. Hand it over to Chief Case. Chief Case, you're on.
So yeah, I submitted everything that I have on the subject to the board with kind of explanation. I did talk to the duty crews that there was a couple members that were familiar. They, like I submitted in my letter, they did do some trials and some testing. Actually, Doug's brother came down and demoed a drone. He works for U.S. Armed Services and is very familiar with drones and is actually willing to come out. He's deployed overseas right now, but to do some training with the department also. So I kind of got the explanation, and it's what I put in the letter over use of this grant if we accept it. That would be utilization of this device, primarily for water rescue, search and rescue, area observation platform. And it's a matching grant, so it's a 50-50 grant. There is money. I did go over that with the budget with the supervisor and the clerk to where this money could be allocated from. And so, yeah, I would support purchasing this. I think it could be a valuable tool, just like some of those tools in emergency services. It may be 5 years outside of training before it's deployed, but it's still an asset to us. And yeah, as far as the grant goes, I was kind of surprised when I got the email on it. I did do a little bit backtracking on that, and yeah, I'd entertain any questions that board members have.
Okay, does any board members have a question? I see Andy's got his hand raised. I can actually see him. Sorry, Dave. Still can't see him. Go ahead, Andy.
It's more a statement of concern. We got thrown this grant that if we don't say yes to or don't take it, we get kind of dinged by the state as well. So not only is it an asset that we're able to use, but if we don't move on this, we could be hurting for getting approved in future grants. So that's something we need to take care of. And I'd like to make a motion that we accept the grant and pay the matching funds if the clerk's got a place for it to come out of.
I'll second.
Okay, I heard Judy this time. I thought it might have been Pat. That was right there in the third. We have a motion by Andy, supported by Judy, to accept the grant for the acquisition of a drone from the state of Michigan. The grant is being received from the state of Michigan, correct? So motion to purchase.
That is what I meant to say. The words may not have come out right, as flustered as this meeting has made me with the technological challenges we've had.
Yes, well, adapt and change. That's what Green Lake people are known for.
Andy, do you want to mention the amount include the amount in your bid? Or I mean in your...
That's $2,500, correct?
Yeah.
That's the not to exceed $2,500.
Let's back up
Thank
and
you for
say,
that.
what about for writing the grant and that? There's got to be fees somewhere for that stuff.
No, there's not on this. This grant was submitted it's actually pretty much just a one-page. It's a relatively, I don't want to say simple, but it's a straightforward grant. So there was no grant writer for it. It was submitted right to the state. So there shouldn't be any other fee. And I would only ask that, so this is a reimbursement. We'd have to spend the $5,000 up front. And then the state, once we still have to do the bid process like we do based on our township policy, but the state actually requires a bid process too. So we bid, purchase, and then get the reimbursement after we submit it to the state.
What's the deadline for that submittal, chief case?
The application is the end of this month. I believe it was like January 28th for the application, but then the end of the project's date looks like August 1st.
Okay.
So I'll change my motion to include up to $5,000 to cover the reimbursement that we'll get.
Okay. You okay with that, Judy?
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion? Thank you for pointing that out, Sherry, and the explanation, Chief. Any other questions? Hearing none, let's do a roll call, please.
Eric.
Yes.
Biondo. McDonald.
Yes.
Iganowski.
Yes.
Kramer, yes. West.
Yes.
And Radke.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Good luck with that, Chief Case.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the emergency services staffing. Chief Case, you've included a document in our board packet. Could you please hit the high points of this?
Yep, let me bring it up real quick so I follow along here. So what there's been a lot of conversation since I started here, trying to get up to speed on where we've been as a department since we went ALS, how our staffing's been, and I kind of know some of the history starting here way back in 91, but trying to understand our staffing, where we're at, how we got to where we're at today. We've been pretty lucky that at this point in time we've got basically 3 part-time employees that have been covering full-time hours since the departure of Dawn, because she was covering some of those staffing hours. They were filling in hours prior to that, but on, I don't want to say a weekly, but a monthly schedule, they would come up with their hours worked. And trying to come up with a plan forward as a department, and being that we aren't adding any hours, we're talking about continuation of the current schedule as as we run it here. And like I said, up to this point, we've been lucky with 3 employees that have been working pretty much full-time rotation schedule. They covered us through the big holiday season, which is, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, time away from their family on a part-time basis. So trying to come up with a plan forward was to plug the full-time staffing in for that firefighter EMT position. Those crews cover obviously fires, but the most important part is our licensure for EMS requires a 24/7, 365 response of our ALS AMOs. Creating a plan to come up with long-term in the next year, 6 months, 9 months down the road, there's going to be a huge increase in once Long Lake Township becomes a transport and ambulance service. They're already looking at 7 full-time paramedics. So the thought came out, and Marv has discussed this prior to this, was that there's money within that budget that we can look at. So ran the numbers numerous different ways on our current hours and what that would mean moving forward from here. Our pool staff is very limited at this point in time. We're sitting at a roster that's less than 20 people right now. And I will say very many of them are active, at least in the training, if not response. We have a core group of firefighter EMTs that cover callback, and even the full-time medics cover callback quite often. So we're lucky in that point in time. But moving forward, long-term planning is that we need to establish where we want to be. And I believe that starts with filling those 3 firefighter EMT positions, as I stated in the letter, with that goal being is that we would give them an amount of time, being 3 years, to fulfill obtaining their paramedic license. And that would be a condition of employment for the individuals that we hire. That would, in the future, not leave us so stranded in the cases of injury, illness of an employee. Right now, if we go down a full-time medic, if one was to contract COVID and we're out of them for 2 weeks, we really don't have staff to backfill easily. Can we cover the schedule? Most certainly we can. It would be painful to department members, including myself. I did obtain my level of function prior to the end of last year, so I am able to cover within the med control, and I do cover calls, but that's not the long-term goal, I don't think, of where we want to be. So with that said, I've ran the numbers. I've kind of crunched those. I've been in Judy's office quite a bit, bugging her in the last couple weeks, and I've ran the numbers with Marv and Andy numerous different times to look at different things. I don't want to leave anything out and come back later in needing addition. So I can have better numbers, but where I wanted to start with was where we are at with the budget, where I anticipate that we'll be at to start the process of going out for interviews, and then to come back with firm numbers. Really, we're not adding additional hours. Those employees are already working the hours now. We're talking personal time, so PTO being vacation, being sick time. Right now, those 3 employees that have been working that whole time are not accruing any, I don't want to say they're not accruing any benefit, because yet they are financially, but they are not if they get sick or injured. If they get sick or injured, unless it's on the job, they have no recourse to, get sick time, unless it's a workman's comp case or anything like that. So it allows for that in the future is where we want to be. So we've only got 1 holiday left in this budget year. All of our holidays have been budgeted through already. So we're not even talking out PTO yet, because they have to accrue that. So we did kind of look at all those things. They're already accruing some overtime if it's within the standard that we use, and I did give Sherry some information on financials as far as how much overtime. They're covering that now, so we're not really talking additional hourly funds, we're talking benefits. So I'm rambling on a bit here. I should probably just take some questions and see what you guys have.
Okay, with that, I'm going to ask a question for clarification, Chief Case. Yes, I've seen you in there with Judy. She's been very gracious with her time along with Andy, and we did run some numbers through the budgeting process. Looking at that, and I know Sherry and Dave, others have made vocal saying that, you know, we want to be paramedic, firefighter. And my conversation with you has indicated that do we need to have all paramedic firefighters full-time now? No. In the future, yes. If you came up with that 3-year, 2.5, or 3-year drop dead, you would be a paramedic or you find a different job, firefighter at that time. And the market to go out and pursue a medic firefighter right now in today's market for Northern Michigan, or for the state of Michigan, it's an awful challenge due to the Long Lake wants to acquire 7 paramedic firefighters by summer. Peninsula's looking for it, and some other communities up in Leland, all from my understanding, looking for them. So we're taking the initiative. Yes, we'll do EMT firefighters now, with a caveat in the description and hiring. They will know that they will have to obtain their level licensure of a paramedic within 3 years. Does that give a brief overview correctly, Chief Case?
Yeah. Again, we're doing okay. We're covering our calls. We're doing what we're doing. But this gives us that potential to be a stronger department. But I believe we can talk big world ideas or big department ideas in the future at budget hearings and stuff like that. But moving forward, this just gives us more flexibility for multiple calls. The day-to-day every call, we're doing okay with staffing, but really we're leaning on our 3 employees right now really hard, and I just don't think that's a great system. I think we can do better, and then we can plan more for, and including probably, hopefully, maybe most of all those staff. I hope I've talked to them all and all sound pretty willing to continue, but and I've been straight up forward with them the whole time is that we need to do this and open this out, and we'll go from there. But yeah, you're exactly on. This is some future planning and future drive for the department and growth, in my opinion.
Very good. I see Andy has his hand up. You're the only one I can see besides Judy. So
this is a weird meeting. But so, Chief Case, just real briefly, you and I have had several conversations throughout the week about this, and just real briefly, this is a plan to get us to a goal of having paramedic firefighters in 3 years or less, correct?
Well, additional. We already have that now with our paramedic firefighters that are here, and we have, as far as, and I've talked to plenty of department members about this, and Marv to a point, but, there's different levels of being on Green Lake Township Emergency Services, in my opinion, that we're going to move forward on, and that's full-time staff, that's part-time paid-on-call staff, and then there's the on-call staff. And really, over my career and over a lot of emergency services people's career, they fall into that chain somewhere. Most, when they're younger, don't have anything, so they start off in that paid-on-call role. They're brand new. We get them some education, get them in the department, get experience, and then if they really like it, then, they may move on to be able to fill a part-time role or a paid-on-call, depending on how you look at it, and maybe full-time. And that's where I see us with our staffing of those 3 levels. But the bulk of the work, for us and for a lot of agencies is that 24-hour staff that's at the station. So it's just going to make us stronger if we can double those amount of paramedics, so that the example would be if we get 2 calls at the same time, we'd be able to split the staff that's here and be able to use those on call that come from home, or Assistant Chief Stinson or myself, and don't like to use myself because I am a paramedic, but we can split that staff and cover the second call a lot easier if we had, you know, our 24-hour, those crews staffed with paramedics. Right now, like I said, we're doing great. The crews are doing a great job. We're able to backfill, and there's times where we just backfill with a BLS crew, and we get ALS from Blair or North Flight. That doesn't happen very often, but that's how the system works. And we're still fulfilling our licensing requirement with the state because we've covered our ALS response. But again, I think we can. The goal would be if we can add that level, then we allow for some growth.
So these 3 that we're hiring aren't to be EMTs. They're going to be paramedics as quickly as possible, is what I was trying to get at. So we're trying to get that solid core of paramedics, because like you had said to me the other day, if one of our paramedics gets sick, it's harder to fill that up. If an EMT gets sick, we can backfill that a little easier. It's
somewhat. Again, our staffing's pretty short both ways, but in general, yeah, it's easier. We've got a couple more EMTs that could potentially backfill, but yeah, we're pretty short.
Okay, Judy, I see you have a question.
Ace, do you have any plans in the future to maybe go out and advertise for more workers to help build your roster?
Yeah, for sure. I've had some interest in on-call staff, and I think I'm getting to a point to understand how we're doing staffing-wise. And with our schedule, I mean, that's the other hard part about our schedule is that we don't have regular hours, how we're staffing right now for on-call people to pick up or for pool employees to pick up. It's all pretty much short notice, which is good and bad. The good is that we're covering our stuff and that we really don't need them until something happens, and then suddenly we do. So that's the hard part, is that keeping interest and keeping those pool staff active in the department can be cumbersome when they're not able to work shifts because we're covering what we're covering. So it's a good problem to have that we're not utilizing them, but it also we may lose interest in those folks to want to be able to, you know, be part of the department if they never get any shifts to work. So, but in the future, you know, with our full-timers now are going to be getting some PTO and stuff like that, so we're able to schedule some stuff. So yes, the plan is to increase our roster, but only with people that are going to be active. And I think that's part of the problem that we dealt with before, some inactive people that, you know, maybe made the roster look good, but weren't. And every department has that. I don't want to single out that was a huge problem. Everywhere that I've ever worked, you know, that's a hard thing for those pool employees to fulfill the need when they're working full-time somewhere else. And that's the other thing that we should take into account is that, you know, those full-time employees are, you know, not that the pool or part-time employees aren't dedicated to us, but they, you know, if their full-time employer requires a schedule change, then, you know, we're kind of going to be out what help they can give us if their main draw or their main employer is changing something in their life.
That answer your question, Judy, and all that? Thank you. Sherry, do you have a question, comment, please?
I've got a few things here. First, Daryl, you didn't answer Andy's question about, Andy, what was your question? Oh, if we're going to hire full-time paramedic, full-time firefighter paramedic. That's what we're going after. You kind of went around it and that. Is that
no,
what
not
we're
with this post. The position that we're going to fill is for firefighter EMTs, and we would post that as firefighter EMT positions. Could we get paramedics that would apply? Yeah, we might. But the posting is for firefighter EMT, so that's the minimum. A paramedic is also an EMT. They supersede those EMT qualifications, but that's not what we're looking to fill. We're looking to fill it with our current staffing level which are firefighter EMTs.
Then why are you making a point that they have to get their paramedics license within 3 years? That one
Because
kind of
that would be the eventual goal of our staffing in that level of full-time employees that work regular hours, they're full-time, that they would be paramedics in the future. I'm not saying today that they have to be, but in the future movement of the department, I believe that's where we need to be.
Okay, when we went to ALF, and this is the way it was supposed to be done, it was supposed to be hired firefighter paramedic. That was what we were going to hire for full time. And then people were being brought in and given time to become paramedics that never happened. Okay? So that's where I'm coming from right now is, do we want to have firefighter paramedic? Or is this going to be a permanent position that's a firefighter EMT? So we're not gaining our paramedics because we already got somebody sitting there as an EMT. And I know that it's somewhere in around $10,000-$12,000 for them to get that classification. I don't think the township needs to be on the hook for doing that. And if we hire the EMTs and want them to become paramedics, when are they going to be able to go get that other? And how's it going to interfere with them working as a full-time employee at the township?
Well, if I may interject a little bit on this, Chief Case, I hate to, but from my understanding through our discussion, the market to hire a paramedic firefighter is very, very, very slim at this point in time. And at this point in time, what Chief Case has referred to as our future is we want to shore up our service. Currently, we have paramedic EMT that can respond, and we do get a good chunk of the time a paramedic that does a callback along with other EMT firefighters. We can take that second call. But with the 3 individuals that we have, with Chief Case is number 4, there's a high chance of burnout and a high chance of it being missed because this year we're lucky. A lot of things aren't happening. They're not out enjoying life. COVID's got them to home, so they're not going to Mexico or Canada on vacation. So we're able to get that call back. What happens is once we open up as a state, our callback paramedics could be on vacation and one could be sick and we can't get a fill in. And that's where our impact to our level of function as an ALS provider be an impact. It's easier to get an EMT firefighter in this environment today and give them a short period of time, aka 3 years, to become a paramedic firefighter. And if they do not, according to the agreement that will placed upon them, they would lose their job. They would be terminated from employment for non-compliance. So the environment is picking. Yes, if a paramedic firefighter walked in, yes, from our discussions with Judy or with Chief Case, but it's likely that we'll have more EMT firefighters, and knowing that will have to obtain their medic license for 3 years. Chief Case, if you want to expound on that, I want to get my understanding to let you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, and sure.
Well, wait a minute, Mark. You're saying that firefighter paramedic is slim. So are we going to advertise for firefighter EMT positions?
Advertise for firefighter EMT positions to begin with a job description or with notice in that in order to qualify for this job, you'll have to obtain your paramedic license within 3 years along with your level of function.
So then if somebody applies and they're already halfway through that paramedic thing, that puts them up at the top of our interviews selection.
It very well could.
So we're looking for that paramedic.
Yes, ma'am. But with today's market, it's slim, so let's broaden our horizons a little bit. And is it needed absolutely today or tomorrow? No. But in the future, will we? Yes, we've indicated, you've made it very well known that there should be paramedic firefighters to begin with. But with the market today in this region, in the state of Michigan, and actually nationally, I mean, they got people go to Pennsylvania, it's a $35,000 sign-on bonus if you're a paramedic firefighter.
Okay.
That's the shortage issue that we're having. So we're taking an initiative, marketing initiative, saying, okay, you need it, but not necessarily today, 4 months. If you get your license, great, we'll move you up. You know, but this gives us a little broader spectrum of pool personnel to draw from. Am I misunderstanding that correctly, Chief?
No, it gives us time to get to that level. I think this is a moving forward phase of where we need to be. And again, our staffing, our hours are already there right now. We're just talking about the transition from filling those with part-time staff, moving them to a full-time staff role, and then B, in the future, where we want to be as a department, where I see us being for that full-time staffing level.
Okay.
Paramedic firefighter.
Daryl said something about paying people on call again. That's what we were getting away from when we went into this fire department, away from the volunteer. And now he wants to back up and do that again?
Yeah. His definition and our understanding of what it was in the past is like the callback. Right now we pay 2 hours, I believe, for anybody that comes back after the initial crew goes out on a call. So we do pay 2 hours of time for individuals to respond back to the station as a callback. And on-call individuals would be, okay, we had paramedic firefighter Derek Brown call in sick. We need somebody to be on call to fill that position that is qualified. Am I correct in that assumption, Chief Case?
Yeah, so we have callbacks for, multiple calls. If we get a cardiac arrest, the duty crew just can't they can if they have to, but there are times where we need extra staff to come back in. So I consider those are callback employees. They're on call. Everybody, I don't say everybody. Most people have a pager or a phone, and then they come back on calls to increase staffing levels if they're available, and it's just on an available basis.
But we don't pay them to set home anymore, or we don't pay them to come and set at the township anymore, right? You're not talking about that at all, are you?
No.
Okay.
And like today, we had 5 calls in an hour. So our crew was just a hopping for about an hour, so we needed to have the extra callback people to come in so they could take the rigs out.
Okay. The other thing is, and I think probably Andy would be able to look into this the best. I think he's way low on his $15,000 additional for the rest of this budget year.
Sherry, we have been looking at these numbers all week, and 15,000 I think is actually a little bit high. I think he's being generous with that number for the board, from what we've seen over the week looking at this stuff. I think he's trying to give us a little bit better picture. It's a little scarier picture than it really is when it comes to numbers. We're looking at it's basically the holiday pay and the benefits that would be accrued.
Right, but
it's not an hour.
Your retirement, your HSA, that alone right there should be about at least $7,000, $8,000 per person.
Right.
Well, it would be any retirement right up front.
I'll get it for 6 months.
Right. And all this would be prorated on, not on wages, because we're already paying wages. This would be prorated on HSA, HRAs, and whatnot in that regards there. And part of the insurance premiums would be prorated. So I'm understanding, according to Andy and Chief Case's numbers that I'm looking at, that you guys looked at and you're very comfortable with that number of 15,000.
And how much?
I'm very comfortable with that number.
When you did all of that, does that overdraw the firefighters' budget for this year? How close are we to the top of spending every penny and then some?
There is money left in the fire budget as a unit. If we go line item, it's gonna hit the line items a little bit, but we've got money in that budget to work with, even with some of the other issues I had brought up earlier this afternoon, and it strengthens the department. So it's the little bit of hit that it's taken this year. I'm comfortable with.
Okay.
Any other questions? Dave, Pat, Paul, Judy? Okay.
Is it ready for a motion, Mr. Radke?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, I'd make a motion that we post these three positions for firefighter EMT for 2 weeks with the understanding that the person hired has to receive a paramedic license within 3 years of hire.
Is there support?
I've got more to this motion. I had to turn and find it. Interview committee will be put together and interview as apps are coming in, so that we can be interviewing during this 2-week period, so we don't have a big rush at the end. 50% reimbursement upon receiving a license with a 2-year contract prorated if leaving the department early. And that the individual will be paid at their level of performance. So once they become a paramedic, they will be paid as a paramedic. I think that's only fair, and I believe Chief Case is on board with that. And then Chief's discretion on staffing to work with the schooling that the individual needs to have, if they need to have some backfill on that. And that was in our budget as well, I believe.
Biganowski supports for discussion.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Merrick, support by Baganowski to proceed with advertising for 3 EMT firefighter positions with an understanding that they will acquire their paramedic license within 3 years and their level of function, and the discretion of their level of service pay would be determined by Chief Case. And 50%
upon receiving their license.
Upon receiving their license with an agreement that they
serve for
stay
2
with
years.
the township. 2 years. 4 months. Got it. Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes.
I heard Sherry first.
I'm wondering if in that motion, Andy, if you could put that at 1.5 years, if they aren't halfway completed, they're gone.
Chief Case, you comfortable with
that? No.
We had talked about how long it took to get the license, so I can understand your hesitation. I'm not comfortable with that. If you had been, I would have been.
Well, the 3 years allows them to get into 2 different paramedic start programs. The Munson's goal is to start a new paramedic class, and they don't have to take it at Munson, but that's obviously the closest, to start a new paramedic class every every July. So that would allow them to, if they didn't get in the one that starts this July, to get in next July's and still fulfill that requirement. For the most part, I believe that the timeline's right, to be able to fulfill that requirement in getting in the second class. So
and we are at will, so if they're not meeting the requirements, Chief, we are at will, so if they're not meeting the requirements, you know they're not going to make it, you can always recommend we terminate at that time too.
Well, again, I think the 3-year goal is to have that staffing level up there.
Right.
You know, we're still going to benefit. I mean, there's still going to be a benefit to us in a full-time role in that 3 years. Our goal, 2-phased, is to eventually get them up to a medic work shift per our current schedule. So I'd prefer not to, put that in there just because I think we'll have them with signing a employment contract that they have to be a paramedic within 3 years. I think that would suffice.
Okay, thank you. And I do believe with that being said, we do have staff that have enrolled in paramedic class. We do have EMT firefighters that have enrolled, other ones that are doing it. They're already still under the employee, but according to the policy, we're going to advertise out there. And that's in my comment. I believe, Dave, I thought I heard you right with Sherry.
Right. Two comments. One is we already have an education reimbursement policy. I'm afraid of what Andy just said now conflicts with our long-established reimbursement policy, and I don't want to do that. And two is I don't want a hiring committee for a paramedic level. I don't think we need one. Chief Case does that.
Our hiring policy requires a committee.
Yes.
For not every single employee, does it?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Just read it this week to make sure I didn't want to be wrong on this call.
So what would be done is, if we proceed with that, the interview committee policy consists of the clerk and the supervisor, and if it impacts
the clerk and the supervisor review the applications. There's a committee, I believe it's 2 to 3 board members, and with fire services, the chief. EMT, whatever, emergency services, I can't remember his position title.
Director, fire chief. Yeah, so we would, obviously invite Chief Case to sit in the interviews because he's the one with the knowledge. That's what we hired him for. So, yeah, that's part of the requirement, the publication requirements. If you remember early on, we used to have, try to promote from within, but since then that verbiage has been removed from our policy and our handbook. So stay in compliance, we must advertise, and the clerk and the supervisor dissect the resumes with feedback of Chief Case. Then we can establish an interview committee. Yeah, then we establish an interview committee of what we're looking for is 3 board members and to include Chief Case. So, and it's sooner the better, in my opinion, that we proceed with the request and guidance of Chief Case. Pat, do you have any comment?
Well, what was Dave's first objection?
That what Andy said conflicts with our normal reimbursement policy for employees.
Does everyone agree with that? Do we need to make that change?
I can't remember what the original policy is. I think it's if we were to pay them every semester, every year, it comes in about the same. This is holding it off till the end so that we get a 2-year commitment for the paramedic once they receive their license is the reason I want to do that versus just throwing money at the employee for taking classes. Our goal is to get them that paramedic's license. So if that's a major issue, I can scrap that, but I'd like to keep that in there for this reason of developing the I don't want to train someone to be a paramedic and have them go somewhere else right away.
Okay, I'm looking at our township employee handbook right now, and it basically says yes to tuition reimbursement, and here it says they have to be 12 months beyond. Chief Case is proposing 24 months, and the reimbursement rate is $1,500 per year. Reimbursement amount, that'd be at the discretion of Chief Case.
Well, no, you just said it's $1,500 a year. So then you're looking at probably a $3,000.
Well, it'll be 3 years, it'll be $4,500. And I think 45. That's about $9,000 class. So 50% or $4,500 is same in regards to a $9,000 class, from my understanding.
And we're starting right off the bat with this versus making them wait 12 months so they can get training right away is the other reason I thought this was a important way to go on this. to encourage them to get the training right away, get them educated, and get them tied into the township for a 2-year commitment.
So, Marv, do you think that's a conflict or not?
No, I don't think that's a conflict. We're a little bit more strict in that. In the one aspect, we're have them commit to us for 2 years rather than 12 months. Board can alter that. This motion.
Employment contract, you're not an employee at will.
Exactly.
Yeah, they obligate. They can still be fired or quit within that. Provision is not necessarily for their employment, it's for the repayment of funds expended on their behalf. So if they quit halfway through the year, they would be obligated to reimburse 50% of the payments made from the township's coffers.
All right, I'll buy that.
That's how it's laid out in our policy.
Prorated based upon the 2 years. So every month they get a gift, if you will, of that forgiven.
Yeah.
Nothing said about if they pass? We're just going to pay even if they don't pass?
They have to pass.
They have to receive their license, not just pass the class. They need to be licensed.
But you just said you were going to give them, like, monthly payments back.
Well,
I said that would be the forgiveness period. They wouldn't have to repay us, or we're going to give them half of the class, and if they leave after a year, they have to pay us back 50% of what we gave them.
Okay, you're talking about if they pass and they're employees. Okay.
Correct. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear on that.
Judy, do you have any comments, questions in that regards?
No.
Okay. Dave, do you have any more?
No.
Pat?
I'm good.
Terry?
No.
I'm good. I believe there was a motion made by Mr. Merrick, supported by Ms. Kramer.
No.
Biganowski.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stand corrected by Bagnowski. That's right. He said for discussion purposes only. To proceed with advertising for 2 weeks, holding interviews as the resumes and applications come in.
Firefighter EMT.
Yep.
With commitment to become paramedic in 3 years. 50% reimbursement upon receiving license. Paid at level of...
Okay, can I ask one other thing? You there?
Yep.
Hey, you're not going to give them paramedic pay until they reach paramedic stage, right?
Yeah, their level of function, correct.
So if they're an EMT, they're paid as an EMT. If they're performing to chief cases qualifications to be a paramedic level at that point, in my opinion. Pay them for what their education is and what their level of expertise. And chief discretion on backfilling or covering for schooling so that they can make their classes.
Yep, so once they hit the level of function, if they're acting as a level of function paramedic firefighter, they'll receive the level of pay for paramedic firefighter. Correct?
That was my motion. Right.
Okay. With that being said, Judy, can we have a roll call, please?
West.
No.
Kramer, yes. Biganowski?
Yes.
Merrick?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
And Radke?
Yes. Motion carries 5-1. 1 nay. Chief Case, please get your minimum qualifications as discussed by the motion forthright, and we'll proceed with advertising, and we may hold a special meeting later this month or the first part of next month to accomplish goal step 4. Motion passed.
Mr. Supervisor, what about the hiring committee? Do you want to do that tonight so we can start?
The hiring committee is the clerk, supervisor, and
Andy.
Andy. Okay. That's the hiring committee and Chief Case.
Thank you.
Third board member. Oh, that is 3.
Yep. Oh, the hiring committee.
I'll take a pass if someone else wants to do it.
Oh, no. It's all in the timing, Miss Clark.
I'm really busy.
You may be.
Elections are over.
Okay, so the hiring committee stands as Judy, Andy, myself, Chief Case. We'll receive and file and bring all the information back to the board. I'm hoping that we'll have a special meeting at the latter part of this month to ball rolling. Motion carried. The next item on our agenda, I have Braden's by Baganowski.
Yep. Well, I see in the bills that we're paying an attorney $1,000 already, and I'm kind of ticked that we were not consulted, given notice, a copy of the complaint, or even authorized a lawsuit against somebody. You know, I'm a board member. Why don't I get this information, and why doesn't it go through the board? Somebody can explain that to me.
Okay, I'm going to do my best in this regards there. The Braden, the $1,000 bill, you've seen more than, there's been more money spent on that than what you just pointed out in regards to the $1,000. This Braden issue has been ongoing since Christie was our zoning administrator. It was continued with Denny. It continued even further with Kevin. And when we got Alicia, I indicated, no, we have a zoning ordinance. Here's Article 18 of our zoning ordinance tells us what we have to do, what you have to do, and she has followed that to the T. Very good in that regards. There, same thing with our junk ordinance, our fireworks ordinance, and all that there. It is authorized and authored by our zoning ordinance, by our police power ordinances, and she's within the spectrum of the zoning ordinance.
Now, I'm not saying it's not a legitimate suit. I'm asking why the board hasn't been informed and authorized it or even given a copy of it.
Okay, the authorization's already there, but I can see where we should all make a request anytime that we go beyond sending out over 100 letters annually for junk zoning violations, that she includes that in each board packet. We're aware of that. We did have, what's the other guy's defense? No, what's the other gentleman?
Cutways ought to be in there too. That stuff should come to us in correspondence so that we know all of that that's going on. I'm with Dave on this.
You have been sent that under different email covers.
Yeah, a quick email I got in there, but I've never read his complaint or any of that. I've talked to Judy in the background about it, but Dave's right. When that stuff like that comes up, that should come to us in correspondence so we know what's going on down there.
And once we know what's going on, we pass that information on in regards to the additional investigations that the township is involved.
Well, I want to go farther than that even. The whole board hires and fires every single employee. I think the whole board ought to authorize every lawsuit that we engage in. I mean, we're small enough to do that.
Okay, well, I mean, if that's what the board's wishes is, my concern lies, okay, our zoning ordinance tells our zoning administrator what to do. And to sit there and bring junk complaints or zoning violations to the board for ratification of action, I'm concerned with, because I don't want none of these alleged violations, until they are determined they are, to be influenced politically. If they are in violation of the junk ordinance as ascertained, then why would the board say, no, we're not going to prosecute Tom because he's a good guy, but we're going to go after Sue because we don't like her? It's, what is it? Let's proceed with it. Same thing with zoning, same thing with fireworks.
You know full well that if we wanted to, we could have 50 junk complaints started tomorrow, but the board should be the one prioritizing and like you said, picking and choosing. The board should make that decision.
The board made the decision with Braden. That's been an ongoing issue for years.
Wasn't that settled though?
No.
3-4 years ago, I thought they settled all of that over there.
Nope, not at all. They've just played the shell game and moved it from one property to the adjoining property, which is still a Braden property. So the plan of attack was to incorporate any and all properties, to get together with all the properties, and we've been working with Board on this for many years. So this is not a new endeavor. This is just hopefully we can finalize this issue that's been ongoing. I believe Rudy, under public comment, reiterated, supported the actions being taken, even though it's taken way too long. But I will make a request that any and all letters sent out on zoning, junk, fireworks, or any other police power ordinance, zoning ordinance that we have, that said information be shared with the board at each.
All right, I'm not asking for letters. I'm asking for actually filing a complaint in district court or circuit court. Those are the ones I want to be informed of ahead of time and have consultation and authorize. And like I said, if you assure me that you'll do that, fine, I'll leave it go here. But if you're not, I want to do a formal policy on it and bring it next month.
I will assure that we will proceed with that.
You're micromanaging the zoning administration.
No, filing a lawsuit on behalf of the township is not micromanaging. That is our job.
No, it is not.
So
In writing that declares that has to be done. She's doing her job that she's getting paid to do. She's following policy and procedure, and you're trying to micromanage her.
No, like I said, we could file 50 of those. We only have so much money. We only have one attorney. We have to pick and choose which ones we file on.
Oh, no. You're not picking and choosing. You're going to treat everybody the same. Everybody is treated the same.
I think you're already picking and choosing. You guys let Cycle Moore off the hook and then went after someone else.
No, she didn't. She's been working with them, too.
Sure.
Is it because you represent Braden? Isn't that a conflict of interest?
I haven't represented them in 20 years, Judy. Get off it.
Okay, well,
it is appropriate for the board to authorize lawsuits. That's more normal than not normal.
We issue a complaint and it goes in front of Tammy Rogers, who is the magistrate that has that. And if they appeal that decision, that's when it goes into the circuit or district court. I'm understanding.
Civil infraction, I don't think we need to know about. Let Alicia handle civil infractions. If it gets to district court or circuit court, the board should be making that decision.
Okay, we'll bring that forward. I will talk with Alicia in that regards there. And my concern is mirrors what Judy says. No,
I don't think this should be done. He's micromanaging. Period.
Well, those lawsuits can get real expensive real fast, like that Jones Bees yard over there. That's cost that township at least tens of thousands of dollars, if not way more than that. I mean,
was that the Alvarez versus Palm? I'm sorry, I missed part of that, Pat. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know who the No. Over in Benzie County, where they went after the bee place for making noise. That's cost that township a small fortune or a large fortune. I'm just saying the point is that those bigger lawsuits can end up, before you know it, you owe $50,000 on them.
$45,000 from file to trial, from my understanding. So yes, I understand, and we'll proceed. As far as disseminating the information. Enforcement is outlined in Section 18, or Article 18, Section 18.2. Then we got our junk ordinance, noise ordinance, and all other stuff. And we've authorized the zoning and ordinance enforcement officer and the sheriff's department to proceed with enforcement of those ordinances. And that is being done. What I'm hearing is that we'll inform the board of the actions taken.
So, Marv, what point do we need to be informed as a board, according to Mr. Biganowski? Where does he want? Does he want to know when we issue a summons or a civil infraction ticket, or whatever it's called? I'm sorry, I'm not up to date on the terms. Or is it when we're going to take it and move it to the next level of it being an actual court case? I don't know the breakdown. I want to make sure Alicia's clear on this. And if it's not in the policy, it's just this is what we would like to do, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and right now, what I understand what Dave said is anything that goes into circuit or district is board approved. Going in front of the magistrate is part of the day-to-day operations. But once it hits that next level, and Pat also supported Dave's comment, is those can get pricey. So, are we going to proceed? What is our situation? And I'm not sure, because I think everything at this point in time was going to Tammy Rogers, if I recall. Nonetheless, understand the note, and we will proceed with that. I don't know. I haven't seen the complaint. And as an update, I just learned of this today, I think, or was it yesterday? No, today, that a lot of the township work will be done by Mark McKellar the third or the second, and reviewed by Ward. So we'll have a more timely response and action. Wow, it's awfully. But in no way, this is no way involving the performance of our zoning and planning director. I believe that individual, Alicia, has done a superb and spectacular job. I hear the compliments that she receives, not complaints, compliments. She's developed the ability to be diplomacy, the ability to tell somebody they better clean it up or they're fined, and potential other ramifications of law. And they say thank you when it's all said and done. I want to make sure and reiterate, because I see Alicia still on the line, that this is no way a reflection of performance of her duties. And she's not being called out here. What's being called out is my ineptness to bring forward staff's actions and activities. And as far as, sending input in part of the board packet, not going to happen. It's under separate cover, because as we know, at this point in time, the attorney-client privilege kicks in. So we have to be aware of that. So any correspondence, that notice based upon the
In order to keep that, you're going to have the attorney send it. You're not going to be able to send it.
So we'll have them do it in, an hour, or going to proceed with that. And as far as the cutway thing, we're still waiting for other paperwork. What you have is what we got.
What's the last thing that's being done now with the last one you sent us, the last information you sent us on him?
That one we're waiting for. We answered the complaint. The insurance company got us an attorney, and the complaint has been filed, or the answer to their complaint's been filed. And we haven't heard nothing since. First of the year. Deadline's the 18th, I believe. And we are being interviewed this Wednesday on another matter that the board has been aware of. I'm hoping you're right, Dave. I'm hoping that they're or good or whatever there. So the apologies or the corrective measures to address the concerns will forward. Anything that goes beyond Tammy Rogers, magistrate.
I'm good with that. Thank you.
Yep. Any other discussion on said matter? So with this, I believe Alicia met with the property owners today. There was some discussion. Mr. Keller was involved, and the results of the discussion I have not been made aware of, other than trying to get all the information that was gathered today assembled and review, and we'll bring that forward. Alicia, good job. Continue your endeavors on behalf of Green Lake Township and its zoning ordinance and other ordinances. Thank you. With that being said, I believe there was one more item, bills. I have the note bills after. Are we done with Braden?
Yeah, bills was part of Braden, so you can skip past that.
Okay.
But we didn't approve them.
Still have to approve the bills.
Oh, yes.
I make a motion to approve the bills as presented.
Second.
Motion by Merrick, supported by Baganowski to approve the bills as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, Judy.
West.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Merrick.
Yes.
Baganowski.
Yes.
Kramer, yes, and Radke.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0. Our next item on the agenda is discussion amongst the board. At this point in time, I just want to bring notice to you, one of our planning commissioners and zoning board of appeal member alternate passed away last week. So I did send out an email and asked for your thoughts and prayers for him and his family, which brings us to the other issue is we have some board appointments that need to be made. A board representative, I used to sit on our planning commission, and it's an option for our zoning board of appeals. As many of you know, Pat McDonald was our liaison to the planning commission and zoning board of appeals for the last 4 years that I'm aware of, and I know it was before that as well. Rumor had it that Mr. McDonald did not want to sit on the zoning board of appeals any longer, which puts us that we need a representative from the planning commission to the DBA. So I'm asking the board membership if there's any interest in any of the board memberships that we currently have that they may be interested in serving on. You can get that to me via email, and we'll bring that information to our February board. The other discussion is
Pat staying on the planning commission then?
Well,
right?
I'm going to see. I haven't heard anything from Pat. I haven't went out. I do know
Okay,
that
any planning commission member and they can go on the ZBA.
right, we need that liaison, and Pat filled that, but with his absence, then also with Russ, our planning commission member and ZBA alternate member passing, that removed any and all connection between our PC and ZBA, which we are required to have by statute. I'm going to dive into that a little bit further. I'm going to talk with Alicia a little bit further into that. And I know Dave has expressed that he would entertain sitting on the zoning board of appeals. And I understand that Pat would like to sit on planning commission, but with the passing of Russ, I got to reevaluate those positions and what we need to do to stay in compliance with the Planning Enabling Act and the Zoning Enabling Act, Michigan. So if you have interest, just pass it on to me. We'll move from there. I just want to make note that I have physically been contacted by Trustee Baganowski, Dave, that he would sit on the ZBA, but not the PC. I haven't heard nothing from Pat. So at this point in time, just send me an email and we'll put it on for next month's agenda and the resolution of how to fulfill compliance with the enabling acts of planning and zoning. We'll proceed from there. We still have not heard from the state of Michigan in regards to any type of action on our grant request. Mr. Roth is taking office, I think, this Wednesday officially. This will be his first action, and he'll be our first contact. We want to make sure we get a good working relationship with our representative. So we'll proceed with that. That's all I have for discussion. At this point, does any other board member have any item that they'd like to discuss? Hearing none, do we have any correspondence that anybody would like to discuss? First, Hearing Hearing none, brings us to the last item under our agenda other than adjournment, public comment. Is there a member of the public that would like to speak? Please unmute yourself, state your name, your address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. This is a public comment period. The board will listen to your statements, and if any action is required, that will be taken or addressed at a later date and time for public comment only. Anybody else that would like to speak? So I've given them an extra 5 seconds. With that being said, nothing being heard, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting at 8:29 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Merrick, supported by West, to adjourn this meeting at 8:29 p.m. Non-discussion item. All in favor? Oh, roll call. Yeah, we're on audio visual. We've got to do roll calls.
Merrick,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Biganowski.
Yes.
Yes, and West,
Yes.
and Radke.
Yes, this meeting has adjourned 8:29 p.m. Have a great night and a Happy New Year to all.
You too.
Rhonda, I'll go ahead and send it over to you tonight.
Crazy.
Take care of your phone. You leave them both there. You working in the morning? Yeah. So what Judy say? Fill all your gas tanks. All part of that video.